Hello and welcome everybody to today's Tile Network seminar. I have the pleasure to introduce to you our speaker for today, Lindsay Hayes. She is a post-16 psychology teacher who has taught in London and the home counties in the UK. For the last 22 years, she has taught and led accredited and non-psychology courses ranging from level 1 open network college courses to the first year of the BSc honors psychology degree. She's also a former psychology examiner for AQA and OCR. In 2020, she was awarded chartered status with the BPS via the researcher and teacher route in recognition of her work. She's a member of the Association for the Association of Psychology Teaching, ATP, and represents the ATP on the British Psychological Society's Division for Academics, Researchers and Teachers in Psychology Committee, as well as the British Psychological Society's London and Home Counties Membership Branch Committee. So many different committees and branches. I think I've got them all right. She was also recently appointed as chair of the British Psychological Society Standing Committee on Psychology Education in Schools and College. And today she is talking about the British Psychological Society BPS Teachers Toolkit. Welcome, Lindsay, and we're looking forward to your talk.
Thank you, Carolina. It's great to be here, and thank you all for coming. It's great to see so many of you. So I'm going to talk to you more about the British Psychological Society's Teachers Toolkit, as Carolina said, which is a unique collaboration between the Standing Committee on Psychology Education in Colleges and Schools, we're called SCOPESC for short, the Association for the Teaching of Psychology, the ATP for short, and the British Psychological Society's Divisions of Academics, Researchers and Teachers. So that's BPS, DART-Ps. Yes, there are. I'm just about to share my screen now.
James, so we're getting there. It's okay.
Let me see. 1 sec. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, we can see the slides.
Perfect. Okay, so here we are. Here's my next slide. Okay, so first of all, who are all these people with all these strange acronyms? So SCOPESC, so Standing Committee on Psychology Education in Colleges and Schools. So we are a group of people who champion the interests of psychology teachers in UK schools and colleges. So not just in the British Psychological Society through our work with DART-P, so that's Division of Academics, Researchers and Teachers in Psychology, but also to outside organisations. So that would include people like the PSHE Association, so that's Personal, Social and Health Education, EdPsych UK, Tile Network, so including the lovely Carolina, amongst others. There are many more, and I'll talk a little bit about some of our projects and proposed projects later on in the talk. The British Psychological Society is the professional association for practicing psychologists. And the section of the BPS that represents the interests of psychology academics and teachers across all educational sectors, including the pre-university teachers, which is the one that I belong to, as I said, is DART-P. That's what DART-P does. And the Association for the Teaching of Psychology UK it's a non-profit organisation which has supported UK psychology teachers nationwide through cost-effective, high-quality training sessions that enhance members' knowledge and skills for over 40 years. So, in other words, we are a psychology network for psychology teachers in the UK. So that's across all 4 regions, UK, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland. All of these groups are wonderful, wonderful organisations who are really now working together to raise awareness of what pre-university teachers do and to break down that barrier for psychology teachers and students so that students can better progress from sort of secondary education, GCSE level, to sixth form and then to higher education. Okay, so one of the ways that we've done this is through something called the Teacher's Toolkit. So here I'm just showing you a screenshot of the website for the Teacher's Toolkit. So this is the section on the DartP website. And as you can see at the top will appear the latest resources. So these resources that you see here have only just been released in the last week or two. And you can see that we've got a wide variety of various resources. So these include things on assessment for learning, a guide to personal statements. So students have to write a statement to the University Colleges Admission Service. So in the UK, if you want to apply to university, if you're a sixth form student, you don't apply directly, you apply through more than one university through this organisation. And as well as an application form, they have to write a statement saying why they are best suited. The way that the format has just changed from a general statement to a set of questions that students have to answer which make up a statement. A lot of students need extra support with that. So we have produced an updated results to help guide teachers and students. We're also increasing the number of ready-to-go activities that teachers can use. So this is one called Neurotransmitters Made Easy, and also some information about how to support students' wellbeing. So you can see here we've got a resource on what obsessive compulsive disorder is in general and ways to support students in the classroom and in their school or college. Same goes for understanding ADHD, and also some general resources on how we can support student anxiety in schools in general. So these are stress management tips for teachers and students. So the next question we might ask is, why do we have it? Why do we need it? What is it? So as I said, the Teacher's Toolkit, as I hope you could see from the webpage, is a collection of BPS approved non-board specific resources to support UK psychology teachers. So as I said, in the UK, we have several exam boards for GCSE and A-level students to follow. And we also have other courses such as the International Baccalaureate, access to various pathways such as teaching and social sciences, and the University Foundation Programme. So that is an A-level equivalent course for international students who are studying in the UK but do not have the level of English needed to cope with the A-level course. So these resources cover everyone. In fact, that is our unique selling point. We do not produce resources for specific exam boards, and we make sure of that because the awarding bodies are members of SCOPESC. So they help us to make sure that this remains the case. And when we say BPS approved, I'll talk a little bit more about how resources are updated so that you can see how that is done. The toolkit is divided into 11 sections to support various areas of teaching, and they are here. So we have latest resources, so that's the section that you just saw in my screenshot. Activities, careers, contemporary research, so that just takes us to a link within the British Psychological Society where up-to-date research is. So that's through a weekly service called BPS Research Digest, so that gives you a summary of the latest psychological studies every week. So that is useful to give students stretch and challenge. We also have some resources on equality, diversity and inclusion, open evening or introduction to psychology resources, posters, etc. that teachers can use. We also have a pastoral mental health section, information on pedagogy, as I said just now, personal statements, links to podcasts, research methods, activities and general information such as how to choose statistical tests, and also a general revision and study skills section. Sorry about that, I don't know what's gone on there. Okay. So here are some examples of resources that we have. So as you can see here, this is a snapshot of a neurotransmitters made easy activity that a teacher can use when teaching synaptic transmission in a biological psychology lesson. So you can see in this section, you have a diagram to help teachers explain what students need to do, and notes explaining what the activity is for, and suggestions about how a teacher could use this to suit their particular students, because every class has slightly different needs, and a list of equipment. And if you look at the toolkit, you will see that it gives step-by-step instructions as well on how to carry out the activity. And here is one from the skills section. So here we've got a summary poster here of which skills psychology will give you and how that will help students at university and in the world of work. Okay, so these are just both snapshots of the first page. If you go into the toolkit, and there's a web link on page 1, and I'm sure we'll be able to share this PowerPoint with you after the talk, you will be able to go straight to those documents. So the next question is, what is the history of the toolkit? Why and how? So how did it come into being? So it was originally thought of and created by the past Dart P and Scopes chair, the amazing Helen J. Kitching, and she thought of this idea and kicked it off as a way of engaging and supporting psychology teachers in schools and colleges, and just building those bridges between Dart P, the Association for the Teaching of Psychology, and also the bigger section of the BPS that is concerned with education and training in general. So not just in psychology, but as a whole. So that would include what we're doing in the world of teaching. So Helen thought of the idea, started it off, and then the Education Training Board member, Helen Ansell, then took over the management of the toolkit. It is now maintained by a team of committed psychology teachers. One of them was myself. In the previous upload, I wrote a resource with another teacher called Angeline Davids on how to support English as an additional language learners in the classroom using the content and language integrated learning approach. If any of you are interested in that, that is in the pedagogy section of the toolkit. And as I said, Deb Gadgic is in charge of this. And why did we do it? So what we found was a lot of the awarding bodies do some lovely resources for psychology teachers, but not everybody follows those bodies and not everyone is aware of them. And we're also aware that O-levels and other courses are not just taught in the UK and UK schools and colleges, but some teachers are teaching in international schools in other countries. So for them, they would want some other resources which perhaps they might not have within a specific exam board. Also, not all psychology teachers are attached to a particular school or college, so would not necessarily have access to the full range of resources. Some teachers are private tutors, and of course they wouldn't necessarily be able to access those. So what we wanted was to provide all pre-university teachers with a BPS approved collection of free high quality resources that would be designed for all specifications and levels of pre-university psychology, including the ones who Carolina mentioned that I've taught. And when I say psychology teachers, I have to stress we are not just referring to psychology teachers who have a degree or postgraduate qualifications in psychology. We are referring to teachers who teach psychology. And that would be for teachers at all stages of career. So from the very experienced like myself through to the very new. You just need that place to go. And we just felt that the ATP and BPS are in a unique position to do this because we're such diverse organisations and we have so many different people with so many different experiences. We just felt we're in the best position to help with this. And the initial selection was based upon the findings of our small-scale research project about what teachers specifically wanted and needed from the toolkit. So the research project was a survey which we conducted in the year 2020 on the ATP social media channels. So the ATP is on X, LinkedIn, and has a Facebook group. We also have an Instagram account, but that's not so well used. So we focused on the Facebook group and we asked 4 questions. First of all, which psychology curriculum do you teach? And we had a selection to choose from. Would psychology resources of the following be useful for you? Again, it's ticking which topics they would like. I will show you the criteria in a second. And if you teach personal, social and health education, many teachers have to now because PSHE is required legally, even in independent schools and colleges in some way. So for question 3, we asked, if you teach PSHE, what support, if any, would you like? And obviously we recognise not all teachers have to teach PSHE, so they had the option to skip that question. And also we asked what delivery or method of presentation of resources would you prefer? And they could choose up to 3 options. So as you can see for question 1, these were the types of courses that we anticipated people saying. For question 2, these were the topics that we thought people might ask for. Sorry about the formatting here, I don't know what's happened. I think my computer's having a little glitch. For question 3, these were the PSHE topics that we felt linked to psychological topics that teachers may want to have extra help with. And for question 4, these were the suggested formats that we thought of. One of the reasons why we thought of some of these is because the BPS Education Training Board already has some YouTube videos, webinars and so on, which were very well thought of and used. And the ATP website also has PowerPoint presentations and so on the conference section of its website. So every year the ATP has a conference at different universities, which is very well attended, is fantastic, but what we found is not everyone is aware of these conferences. So we just thought, okay, how can we help with this in general? So that's what we asked for question 4. And this is what we found. So as expected, the most commonly taught curriculum was A-level, followed by GCSE at 30, sorry, hold on, let me move this you all over. So the most commonly taught curriculum was A-level, with 80.3% of people saying that's what they teach, followed by 31% of people saying GCSE. The reason for that is because GCSE psychology is not needed for a student to study A-level psychology. However, there has been a recent trend in more schools wanting to offer psychology content before the age of 16, before A-level. So some schools do offer GCSE and other schools offer some mental health awareness type courses in years 9 or 10. So I do know that in other countries in Europe, this happens a lot earlier, which I think is great and very important, and maybe something for the UK government to consider in the curriculum review that is going on at the minute. The survey was well advertised in Scotland by the Association of the Teaching of Psychology Scotland, so that is our sister branch in Scotland. In Scotland, courses are run by the Scottish Qualifications Authority, and they have higher levels, which is the post-16 course, and the percentage of people teaching those courses is 18.3% and 5.6%. There was a wide variation of which topics people wanted. Research methods, math, statistics, and ideas for practical work were the most requested topics, probably because many people find these to be the most technical because of the maths content, particularly when it came to the statistical tests. We also found that the original choice of topics for the toolkit were in tune with teachers' needs. So the toolkit came into being at around the time when the survey was done, 2019, 2020. And 85.7% of those teachers who answered the questions about PSHE identified emotional health and well-being as topics that they most wanted support with. However, all of the suggested topics were popular. PowerPoint was the most popular resource format, with 85.5% of people saying that's what they wanted, followed by videos at 61.8%. So this suggested to us that respondents want material that they can just pick up and use in their classrooms and or adapt as they go along. Some of the suggestions that people made beyond the options that we advertised were things that were beyond what we could do, such as they wanted topics on particular specifications. So for example, we want resources on AQA, skills for writing 16-mark essays, which we obviously can't do. However, we were able to produce a result suggesting the characteristics of an A to A-star student, which could be adapted for whatever course teachers are teaching. However, others have been a focal point in our more recent uploads, such as the one that I just showed you. So how is it produced and maintained? So from the original idea of, okay, here's the survey, here is Helen J. Kitchen with the original idea, here is Helen Ansell carrying it out, what do we do next? As I said, Deb Gajic is in overall charge of a team of contributors before every upload. We upload new resources 3 times a year in June, October and February. So what happens is we contact people either on Facebook or at the ATP conference or through email, excuse me, or through the ATP Today magazine, which also comes out 3 times a year. What happens is once people have been in contact with an idea, just to stress, contributors are mostly pre-university teachers. However, we do have some specialist input from organisations who have specialist knowledge that would be useful to pre-university psychology teachers and students, so we do use those. So once Deb has contacted people and received the contributions and put them all together for the various uploads, they are sent to the DART-P chair, Dr. Patrick Rosenkrantz, for review and approval. If he says yes, Deb then contacts the BPS web team to upload the resources onto the Teachers Toolkit section of the DART-P website, which is the page that you all just saw. So the next question is, okay, we have the toolkit, all the resources are on there, so what do we do with them? So we have used them at Open Evening and Taster Day. So for myself, for instance, when I was at an international college in central London, we had to regularly update our display boards according to various monthly themes. So during the Black History Month awareness initiative at my college, I found some excellent resources on international psychologists and women in psychology, so I was able to use those posters. And teachers and students have reported that the toolkit has enabled them to write high quality use cache references and personal statements. That includes my own students. My students also stated that they found the psychological career profiles especially useful, as it gave them a better idea of what to expect from their chosen degree program. So one of my students initially wanted to study criminology, so I showed her the criminal psychologist profiles. She said she found them useful, she used them to write her statement, so that was great for us. It has increased good ideas and practice. So as you will probably see, we've got a real range of different resources and formats for the toolkit, and that is what we intended. That's how it should be, but it's really encouraging talk and lots of teachers coming to us and saying, oh, I've got an idea, can you put me in touch with Deb? And it has inspired pre-university teachers to join the team of contributors and even Scopesc, as well as collaboration across different educational sectors, areas of the BPS and with external organisations. And finally, members of the BPS division of coaching psychologists are using our toolkit as a template to create their own. So that is really, really exciting news. We are really pleased about that because we want that toolkit to be out there making a difference. So here are some of the other projects that it has led to. Excuse me. Okay, so a really exciting project going on at the moment. It is in the early stages, okay, but a really exciting one is called the Archives Teaching Pilot Scheme. So once this is complete, the resources will go into the toolkit. So as I said, very early stages, but I can give you a very brief summary of what they're doing. So the head of the BPS archives, Sophie O'Reilly, has a lot of historical material which she thought would be great to turn into potential lessons to support Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4 and higher students in schools. So what they have done is they're currently working on one of the archive documents, which was to do with IQ testing, and they have gone to different schools in the Northwest where it's very socially diverse, and they've introduced some lessons based on this resource. As I said, it's very early days, so I cannot say more than that, but I've been told that so far this has been really successful. Both teachers and students loved the lessons, found them really helpful, and there are plans to roll this out across the country. And as I said, the resources used could appear in a future version of the toolkit. There is also a collaboration between the PSHE Association and Scopesc. So we are compiling a list of links to specialist websites and resources that teachers could use when they are teaching psychological topics in PSHE lessons. And the PSHE Association is also reviewing its curriculum for secondary and further education settings. And they said there is definitely scope to talk to us about that. That is also very early days. And another exciting collaboration which is coming up is between some members of Scopesc, the ATP and the owner of the Psych Boost website. So the Psych Boost website was set up by an A-level psychology teacher to support his psychology students, and that has just grown and grown. So on his website, he has a series of YouTube videos to help students study and revise for psychology. He wants to do more with that. So what he is in the process of setting up is a series of free 20-minute interviews with various psychology professionals, including myself and Angeline, to support psychology teachers with their professional development. And finally, we have 2 DARPE sponsored workshops at the 2022 and 2024 ATP conferences on how to become a chartered psychologist via the researcher and teacher route. So I ran that workshop alongside a member of Scopesc called Claire Barker, who is also an A-level psychology teacher, or she's just retired. And I'm very happy to say that we have had at least 2 psychology teachers successfully achieve chartered status with the BPS on their first application. And the other thing that we have done as part of these workshops and at our exhibition stand at these 2 conferences is to encourage school and psychology teachers to become more involved with DARPE and the BPS in general. So that is my general idea of what is going on.
Thank you.
So thank you all for watching and listening. Do you have any questions or any other information you would like to know?
Yeah, I think you can unshare your screen now, and we can see each other in bigger. Right. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have plenty of time for questions. We'll open the floor for questions now. You can ask your questions either on camera by raising your hand or in the chat. Absolutely up to you. If you put it in the chat, I will probably just read it out. I have a question to start off. So the toolkit. It's quite nicely laid out. You have those different subtopics in there, and I can see immediate relevance for psychology teaching for them. And you already have, obviously, for each of those different subcategories, different contributions. So is there a way for others to contribute to this toolkit? So if, you know, someone, let's say in our department or somewhere has an idea, what could be useful to be added to that toolkit. So is there a process for that?
Yes, absolutely. So as I said, it's obviously the emphasis is by pre-university teachers for pre-university teachers and students. However, as I said, if there are any other professionals with specialist knowledge who feel, right, this is something that I can bring to the pre-university classroom audience, we would certainly consider the idea. So process is very simple. All you would need to do is you could contact me and I would then put you in touch with Deb Gadget. And then if she likes the idea, what she will then do is contact all of the possible contributors and meet with them, explain the format and what is needed and the deadline. And then if all goes well and it's approved by the BPS, then it will go into the toolkit. So
Yeah,
yes, Carolina, if you wanted to contribute, you're very welcome to. Just give me the nod and I'll tell Deb for you.
I'm not only thinking about me. I know that our department has many resources, for example, in regard to data skills that we have put together and have been working quite hard on. And I think it could also be useful for a younger population of students and maybe, you know, future incoming psychology students. So
yeah, brilliant. Send them my way too. You know, you're all very welcome. If there's a gap and it works, Deb will certainly consider it.
Phil.
Yeah, thanks, Carolina, and thanks, Lindsay. I think it's sort of related to Carolina's question in that if we don't have a specific idea, what would be the best way of kind of getting in touch with someone to say, how could we contribute, but we don't know what we want to give you right now? Or like if there's a way where, so say, for example, we teach a lot of research methods and statistics here, and that's kind of one of the main things we focus on, but we don't really know kind of in detail the research methods and statistics and how it's taught at schools. How would be a good way for, say, someone like myself, James, Carolina, to be like, how do we contact someone at a school and say, how are you teaching research methods and stats, and how can we contribute or help that? Or how can we make an alignment here so that when the students come to us, they're in a better place, or something along those lines?
Yes, of course, that's a good question. So that's where the ATP and SCOPES could help you, because what we could then do is give you information about the main specifications and what is on them. So that should give you an idea. So for example, on the AQA specification, which is the one that I teach, students need to know how to choose. They need to know the difference between parametric and non-parametric tests. They would need to know levels of data. I'm obviously focusing on the data analysis side. Of course, they need to know the different methods and how to design them in general. So they would need to know parametric and non-parametric tests. They would need to know when you would choose all of those tests. They would need to be able to read critical values table, but the only test they would actually need to calculate is the sign test.
Okay.
So I hope that helps. I know some other specifications. I don't know the ins and outs because I said at the moment I'm teaching AQA. I believe in other specifications, it wouldn't just be the sign test they would have to calculate, they would have to calculate others.
No, I think that's really helpful. And again, it's just this idea of like, yeah, I'm assuming there's more of us that would love to have like some connection with the kids at school, and just kind of any way we can draw those links between ourselves and schools would be great. So more than happy to
No.
get involved in that.
No, we would very much appreciate that, because obviously that is a topic that some students find a little bit more technical. So any help that you can give us, we would very much appreciate. I think that's where Scopes could help.
Okay, great.
Because I said the exam, the heads of the awarding bodies are members of Scopes. So we can definitely show you those specifications if you would like, and then we could all work together.
Sure, that sounds great. I have another really quick cheeky question, if that's okay, Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
It's just actually related to a project I'm sort of doing right now with an MSc student. You wouldn't happen to roughly know how many teachers at school who are teaching psychology would have come through deliberately to teach psychology within school and are not like biology teachers that are now teaching psychology and that sort of idea?
No, that's a really good question because there are so many of us. I would say I know that the general trend is that we do need more specialist psychology teachers. You know that I myself am definitely a specialist. In my college, there are three of us. One psychology teacher is a specialist. She's a trained psychotherapist as well as her psychology degree, but she's not teaching this year. She's in charge of pastoral issues. My colleague teaches psychology and sociology. Her degree is sociology, but she has a master's in psychology.
Yeah.
So I think you'll probably find that's the case of a lot of schools. There would be at least one specialist and others may not be.
Yeah, no, I think it's very common in other topics as well, because I know like my wife's an English teacher, but she taught drama for years as well because she happened to have done some drama. And I've always heard that's a similar thing to psychology, but I just wasn't actually sure. So thanks very much. That's really interesting though.
No, I mean, again, it is possibly something we could find out through those media channels. We could ask people, you know, out of interest, they're doing a survey, could you let us know, are you a specialist or not? I'm sure teachers would be happy to answer that.
I think even they would be really appreciative of like people recognizing they're not a specialist, but also trying their hardest sort of thing. So I think that's great. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Right. Other questions? Else. I have another one. Psych Boost. Awesome name. Can you tell us a bit more about it? So what's the format of it? Those would be videos, I'm assuming. And how long will it be?
Yes. So Psych Boost it's a website set up by one of our committee members. So he joined us a few months ago. His name is Nick Surfing, and what happened is he himself was in college and he was having a chat with his students, and he said to them, look, you really need to be doing a lot more independent study. And they said, well, could you do some resources for us that we can use when we're not in the classroom? And he said, okay. So that's when he set up his website. So he has mostly YouTube videos, but he also has a section where you can get extra paid for content as well. And it just really took off and was really successful. And he just said, look, I've had so many students coming to me saying, oh, they've used the videos for revision, blah, blah, blah. This is really good. And he said, you know what? I now want to do stuff for teachers as well, but he wants to do it for free. So that's when he decided to set up the interviews. So it's really good. I could put you all in touch with him if any of you wanted to know more information about that.
So what would be an example of an is there anything already set up for teachers? So what would be an example?
No, he's in the process of doing it now. So what he's done is he's just got to the point where he's planned which topics he wants and he's got contacts, and he's just in the process of saying, great, could you do it? And then he's going to give us a date. So he's in the planning stages. So one of the videos that he's going to do, it would be a 20-minute conversation with me and Angeline, and he's just going to ask us some questions about CLIL, sort of what that means, what activities we could do. I'm guessing what our students get out of using our approach, maybe how it's affected the results in our schools or colleges, or how it's helped our students with their futures. And then he will give us a chance to say, by the way, if you want more information, we've got an article in the Toolkit.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm sorry I can't say more at this stage, but he's in the planning stage himself. He's moving at a terrific pace, but he's still in the planning stage.
I think, again, I have one other thing, and I think it's again about contributing, but in a bit of a different way, because I have been working quite a lot co-creating materials with students. So I think what could be interesting maybe as well as a contribution is something that students, psychology students have created and then, is added there for maybe future students to see. Because this way it's very often I feel that students, so I have this module in level 4 where students learn about different learning strategies and the background of these strategies, and then they use that new knowledge to create how to study tutorials, and then they go to local schools to teach those tutorials in there. And it's quite interesting because the tutorials they come up with is very different to what I would do. Yeah. But they use their own examples and their own experience with maybe trying a strategy, failing how to apply it, and then finding their way through it. And it comes, there's a much more authentic solution that they can offer to pupils. So I'm thinking here with these resources, and this would be probably more targeted to pupils than maybe to teachers. But it could be quite interesting to do something in co-creation with students.
It could. That's a really interesting idea. Or another thing we could do. It's funny you should say that, because one of my psychology students has just had his article published in a section of the ATP Today magazine in Student Corner, and that's exactly what that part of the magazine is for, where students, professionals like yourself, even university students can write into us, and as long as it's relevant to the world of psychology, it doesn't even have to be on particular course specifications. They just write about something that would be of interest to our audience. He, funnily enough, has just had published an analysis of Kanye West behaviour using the 4 definitions of abnormality that we learned in class. And I know other teachers have, and I've also had another former student publish how social influence research could explain India's journey to independence. So it seems to me that that would be some scope for your students if they were interested. I've already asked some of my former students if they would write about their experiences at university and how A-levels prepared them for that for the magazine.
Right.
So I think what you suggest with your students, I think that would be great for the magazine, but I will certainly take that idea to Deb as well and see what she thinks about it. But I think that would work well in the ATP Today magazine. If you were all interested, I am on the editorial team for that, and I will be editing the February 2025 magazine, as I know that you know, Carolina, but just for the benefit of everyone else. So any ideas like that, we would love to put in the magazine as well. Phil, the same goes for you. If you wanted to put something in the magazine for that, which would be read by A-level psychology, like psychology teachers and students in schools and colleges, you'd be very welcome.
Phil?
I am always looking for more things to write, Lindsay, so definitely. But no, definitely have a think and be in touch for sure. I generally did have another question as well, if that's okay, Caroline, if we got time. My question was, do you have any idea about the projection of psychology at A-level, whether it's going to maintain going up and up, or are we seeing a plateau, or do we know?
No, I don't see why not, because a few years, and I was actually very surprised last year, and I found this out, when we read the annual media debate about, oh, A-levels are no good, we have too many students passing, blah, blah, and I don't know if you all saw the email in the media about the ologies, which made me laugh because I think the media's forgotten biology, which is very highly valued, but it's an ology. Hey ho, I will say no more about that. But just to say, I found that interesting because a few years ago, I thought, oh, psychology was the 4th most popular subject, sort of behind sociology. I got a real surprise last year when I found out, no, we're the 2nd most popular A-level subject. And have we gone down? No. I've heard from my Scopes colleagues that the number of exam entries for AQA psychology has gone down a bit, but it's still extremely popular. So I don't think we've plateaued at all. I think we're just going to continue to grow and grow, especially if we get more people like yourself saying to students, hey, this is what you can expect and this is why it's a great subject.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's good news or bad news for us, but either way, we'll still have a job, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I think, even if not, I think personally psychology is in everything. I'm not just saying that. I think there's always a place for it. Just needs to be better recognised.
Yeah, totally. Preaching to the choir stalls there, Lindsay, but I hear
Absolutely,
you.
absolutely. Sorry about that. I'm sorry to get on my hobby horse, but I'm a little bit fed up with the pre-university courses are worthless argument. But I will save the rest of the audience that story.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Right. Are there any other questions from the audience? Anything? 3, 2, 1. No. Okay. All right. Then I would say thank you so much, Lindsay, for your talk and for sharing the resources. As always, I will put together a blog post with the recording and your slides and the links. And we will have one more talk in December. So I hope to see you all then, and have a good day and evening when it comes.
Oh, thank you. I hope you all enjoyed it. And did you want me to leave my email address with anyone in case you wanted to contact about the resort, toolkit, etc.?
Yeah, you can. I can add this also to the blog post as well, so there's no problem. So everything is in one place.
Perfect.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for that. Thank you all again for coming. I hope you all enjoyed it, found it useful.